Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our August Professional Development Day. For those of you who are new, my name is Laura Hale, and this is my 5th year to teach kindergarten here at Shades Cahaba. This summer, I was enrolled in 3 graduate courses, and I would like to share with you a little bit of what I have learned. I have developed a PowerPoint on the top 10 things you can do to help your ELL students. And here's a little secret, but most of the things we're going to be talking about today to help your ELL students will also benefit every child in your classroom. So once we go through the PowerPoint, we'll have a breakout session and time for you and your group members to work together to complete the assignments, and then we'll conclude the day by coming back together and sharing out what we have learned. So let's go. Number 10 thing that you can do in your classroom to help your ELL students is to use authentic assessments. Authentic assessments is a process, not a one-shot event. Authentic assessments require multiple measures of student performance over time. Best practice for evaluation states using formative assessment, not summative, should be used most of the time. And the best practice tip for assessment, another one, is use evaluations that are descriptive or narrative, not scored and numerical. So, what is all that research really telling us? What this could look like in our classroom is that we could do lots of observations, or also something also known as kid watching. We could have chats and conversation with our ELL students. We could take notes. You could implement a portfolio system where you review their work over time and show their strengths and their weaknesses and their progress. And another great authentic assessment that I love that Stephen Carey talked about was a 4-box assessment that we're going to talk about in just a second. And all of these types of authentic assessments will give you more information about your student than a one-shot test score. Most of the time our students go to the ELL room, they take a test, and we get their score. And if you're like me, that score doesn't really mean much to you. I want to know, what are my children's areas of strength, what are their areas of weaknesses, and how can I help them? So let's look a little bit more into the 4-box assessment. In the 4-box assessment, Carey has taken the 4 main parts of language, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and put them into a box. Each section has a continuum where you would take notes and you would grade your students. So if I was evaluating a child, I would listen for how are their listening skills, and I would jot down notes. And then I would say, is this child a beginner, a 1 or 2, or are they more advanced, a 4 or 5? So during our breakout sessions, if you're sitting at the table with the number 10 on it, you and your group members will be filling out a sample 4-box assessment using a child that you had in your class last year. The next thing that you can do in your classroom is use student interest to guide instruction. I cannot tell you how many times this summer I read in the textbooks, student interest, student interest, student interest should guide instruction. So here's a little bit of the research about how student instruction helps you. To increase second language speaking, there are 2 essentials: giving students time to talk and a reason to talk. If you're going to give your children a reason to talk, that means choosing and structuring activities in a way that makes talk meaningful, and activities where students feel a need to talk and they can't help but talk. So this requires curriculum content that engages kids and reflects personal interest. If I'm listening to a presentation, I'm going to be much more tuned in. I'm going to learn a lot more about how to teach reading to elementary kids than a presentation about physics, because physics is not my thing. That does not interest me. But teaching reading or teaching anything to young children does. So just like adults have personal interests, we should tap into those for our students and let their interests guide what we teach. I'll tell you the 4 most important words that I think kids need to hear. They are, I thought of you. Those words, supported with tangible evidence of things that you do in your classroom, can work miracles in the life of a disengaged learner. Stephen Carey in his book and Stephen Lane in his book, both referenced at the end of the presentation, talk about student interest surveys. This is adapted from Stephen Lane's book, and I thought this could be used for maybe K1, maybe K2. It's just a basic, you take a crayon and you color in. Do you like animals? Frowning face, smiley face. Do you like snakes? Do you like space, art? And this list is not a complete list. There are many things you could put on here, and they could bubble in. Are they interested? Are they not interested? example of a 3 to 5 interest survey for older elementary kids could be maybe circle what you like to read. Do you like to read comic books? Do you like to read nonfiction books? Do you like to read and learn about mysteries or funny books or adventure books? So if you were at table 9, you are either going to create, depending on what grade level you teach, if you're primary, you'll be creating a survey like we just showed with the smiley faces. I would like for you to create a list of things you can put on there: space, ocean, animals, dogs, cats. And if you teach grades 3 through 5, I would like for you to get together and work on creating more of a student interest survey that looks like this. Tip number 8. Guess what? It's okay to laugh and have fun. Stephen Carey writes that free-flowing laughter and abundant joking create a relaxed, remarkably comfortable learning environment. Students, especially ELLs, need to know they can lighten their load and feel better with a smile or a laugh. Joan Wink, in her book Critical Pedagogy, talks about the importance of human interactions. Students who feel that they are in a safe and secure environment with an adult that cares about them learn better. And as a benefit, so not only are you creating a strong bond between the teacher and the student with a little bit of humor, but jokes help ELL students build vocabulary. Humor strengthens teacher and student relationships, and humor can facilitate a safe and secure environment. Humor, like I just mentioned, also builds ELL student vocabulary. In Critical Pedagogy, Wink, the writer, lists 42 items of what a good school should look like. Number 22 reads, "Is headed by a principal who invites primary grade children to share riddles." And number 31 on that top 42 list of good schools says that a good school has time to share stories, songs, and riddles every day. So, if you are sitting at the table with the number 8 on it, you and your group members are going to think about ways that you can add humor or comic relief into your classroom. So, with your groups, I want you to add on the suggestions that I have already come up with. You can have a joke of the day, you can read comics, you can show appropriate and short YouTube clips. Make sure to preview those first. You can sing and dance with your students and let them see you being silly. So table number 8, that is your task during our breakout session. Tip number 7, guess what else is important? Talking! In many schools, most of the talking is done by teachers, and silent classrooms are highly valued. Neither situation is helpful for language development, as those classrooms where students are responsible for a great deal of the talking. So I know in many schools that a silent classroom is a sign of great teacher management, classroom management. Silent classrooms should be a thing of the past. Silent classrooms don't promote collaboration, group work, hands-on learning. Usually a silent classroom is synonymous with worksheets and transmission-style learning. So 2 essentials for increasing second language speaking time are time to talk and a reason to talk. And giving students a reason to talk means structuring activities in ways that make talk meaningful. Activities where students feel a need to talk, i.e., student interest-based activities. Best practice states that teachers should tap into the power of social relationships to promote learning. Best practice also writes that some of the most effective social learning activities are collaborative. So table number 7, if you're table number 7, during our breakout time, you will discuss and make a list of ways you can encourage collaborative learning, social interactions, and talking into your classroom. Think about, as you're doing that, how much are you talking during the day, and how much talking are your students doing? Hopefully, you'll see there's a good balance between how much you're talking and how much your students are talking. Tip number 6, the power of read-alouds. And my upper grades, please don't tune me out, because read-alouds can and are effective for your kids too, even in high school. Even though I know we only stop at 5th grade here, 5th grade